For thousands of years, humanity has asked the same question. Where does knowledge come from? Every discovery, every invention, every breakthrough begins as an idea inside the human mind. But ancient civilizations often believed that the greatest secrets did not come from humans alone. They believed some knowledge came from beyond this world. From gods. From spirits. From beings that existed between the human and divine realms. And this belief brings us to one of the strangest and most controversial parts of the Nephilim story. The mysterious phrase found in Genesis, the sons of God. The passage describes a time when human beings multiplied across the earth, and the sons of God saw that human women were beautiful. They took wives from among them. And from this union came the Nephilim, described as powerful figures, heroes of ancient times, and men of renown. For many readers, this is one of the most unusual passages in the entire Bible. Who were the sons of God? Were they simply powerful human rulers? Were they angels? Were they something else entirely? The answer depends on how ancient cultures understood the relationship between the spiritual and physical worlds. In the ancient Near East, the boundary between heaven and earth was not viewed the way modern people often see it. Today, many people separate the natural world from the supernatural world. But ancient societies often believed these worlds interacted constantly. The spiritual realm could influence the physical world. Divine beings could communicate with humans. And supernatural forces could shape human history. The phrase, sons of God, appears elsewhere in ancient scripture. In the book of Job, for example, the sons of God appear as heavenly beings in the presence of God. Because of this, many ancient Jewish interpreters understood the phrase in Genesis as referring to spiritual beings rather than ordinary humans. These beings were not imagined as the modern popular image of angels, peaceful figures with wings and human appearances. Ancient people often imagined heavenly beings as powerful, mysterious intelligences. They were not simply humans with supernatural abilities. They represented a completely different order of existence. And according to the Genesis account, something went wrong when these beings crossed a boundary. They entered into a relationship with human beings that produced something unusual. The Nephilim. A group that was neither completely ordinary humanity nor simply part of the spiritual world. This idea of beings that are partly divine and partly human appears throughout ancient mythology. The ancient Greeks told stories of heroes born from gods and humans. The most famous example is Hercules, the son of Zeus and a human woman. Mesopotamian traditions described kings and heroes with connections to the divine. The Epic of Gilgamesh describes Gilgamesh himself as being partly divine and partly human. According to the ancient story, he was 2/3 god and 1/3 human. To ancient people, this connection to the divine explained why certain rulers seemed greater than ordinary humans. Their power, wisdom, and authority were believed to come from a supernatural source. But the biblical interpretation turns this idea upside down. Where other cultures celebrated these figures as divine heroes, Genesis presents them as part of humanity's corruption. The people who were remembered as legendary rulers were not presented as examples of perfection. They were presented as examples of what happens when humanity seeks power without righteousness. This same theme appears in another ancient text connected to the Nephilim tradition, the Book of Giants. The Book of Giants is not part of the Bible, but fragments of it were discovered among the Dead Sea Scrolls. These writings provide a glimpse into how some ancient Jewish communities understood the Nephilim story. One surprising detail is that the text connects the Nephilim with famous figures from ancient mythology. One of the names mentioned is Gilgamesh. This connection is significant because Gilgamesh was one of the greatest heroes of the ancient world. For thousands of years, people remembered him as a powerful king. But in the Nephilim tradition, that image is transformed. The message becomes: the heroes of ancient civilizations were not necessarily heroes in the eyes of God. They may have been powerful. They may have been famous. They may have possessed extraordinary abilities. But power and fame do not automatically mean goodness. The story also connects the Nephilim with the idea of forbidden knowledge. Ancient traditions often described certain discoveries as gifts from supernatural beings. Knowledge of metalworking. Knowledge of warfare. Knowledge of astrology. Knowledge of magic and rituals. These abilities were believed to have transformed humanity. But the question was whether humanity was ready for such power. This same theme appears in the story of the Garden of Eden. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil is not simply a story about information. It is about humanity receiving something before it was prepared to handle it. The temptation was not merely, learn something new. The temptation was, take power before you are ready. Become like God without first becoming mature enough to use that power correctly. This idea appears repeatedly throughout ancient religious thought. Knowledge itself is not necessarily evil. The danger comes when knowledge is separated from wisdom. A powerful tool in the hands of a wise person can create life. The same tool in the hands of a corrupt person can create destruction. Human history is filled with examples of this. The same scientific discoveries that can improve human life can also create weapons. The same technology that connects humanity can also be used for control and manipulation. The ancient warning was simple: humanity's greatest danger is not what it knows. It is what it does with what it knows. According to this interpretation, the Nephilim represented a civilization that gained access to extraordinary knowledge but lacked the spiritual maturity to use it properly. They became symbols of humanity reaching beyond its limits. But the story becomes even stranger when we look at what happened after the flood. Because according to ancient traditions, the Nephilim were not completely gone. The flood destroyed their physical existence, but their influence continued. The Old Testament later mentions groups connected with giants: the Rephaim, the Anakim, and one famous figure named Og, King of Bashan. These stories suggest that the memory of the Nephilim continued long after the flood. But how could beings connected to the pre-flood world appear again? Were these actual descendants? Were they simply powerful human groups remembered as giants? Or was there something deeper happening? Ancient texts provide fascinating clues. One of those clues comes from the mysterious rituals surrounding ancient kings. Across different civilizations, rulers performed ceremonies claiming a connection with the divine. They were not just political leaders. They were considered bridges between heaven and earth. Their authority was believed to come from a supernatural source. And these rituals reveal a pattern that appears across cultures separated by thousands of miles. From Mesopotamia to Asia, civilizations developed similar ideas about divine kingship. The question is, why? Why did distant cultures develop similar beliefs about rulers being connected to supernatural beings? Why did stories of divine human figures appear again and again? And why did ancient people believe some knowledge came from beings beyond humanity? The answer leads us deeper into the world of ancient kings, giant traditions, and the rituals that were believed to create a connection between humans and the spiritual realm. In the next chapter, we will explore the survival of the Nephilim tradition after the flood, the giant clans, the mysterious Rephaim, and the ancient rituals that shaped the legends of powerful rulers throughout history.